Welcome, soul driven writers, to the Soul Writer Podcast. This podcast is designed for writers like you who have a burning desire to share their story and message with the world and make the biggest impact possible. I'm your host, Lauren Eckhardt, bestselling author, ghostwriter, book coach, and the CEO of Burning Soul Collective. Here at the Soul Writer Podcast, we believe in the power of vulnerability and authenticity. Our mission is to inspire and empower you to write from the depths of your soul by showcasing other authors who have done exactly that. Through their journeys, you'll discover what it takes to write a book that truly resonates with readers and learn how you can embrace your own unique voice to live the writer's life that you've always imagined. So, gather your favorite writing tools, cozy up in your favorite spot, and let's explore the world of soul-driven writing together. This is the Soul Writer Podcast, where your passion meets purpose and the world awaits the magic that only you can create. Welcome to the journey. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Soul Writer Podcast. In today's episode, I wanted to follow up to the interview that I did in the previous episode with Debbie Weiss, who is the author of On Second Thought, Maybe I Can, specifically when she was talking about sharing her personal story and when we decide it's the right time to do it, or suddenly we feel like maybe this is something we want to do. And this could be whether it's just for you or for the world, or for your family, whatever it might look like for you. So I just want to walk through a couple of things today in relation to that, to what does it mean when suddenly this idea is floating around in your head of maybe I can write a story. Like Debbie had mentioned specifically that she didn't carry the stream of wanting to be an author for a lot of her life. And a lot of people will say that, right? Like, I've always wanted to write a book. I've always wanted to be an author. So then when you have the people who come in, suddenly they're in this book writing world and they're like, I feel like I'm not sure if I'm going to belong in this because I haven't had those same long-term dreams as everyone else. Do I still fit here? And the answer is always yes, absolutely. Whether this dream has been on your heart since you were a little girl or started 20 years ago, or suddenly it's appearing today, to me, there's a big reason why. And it goes back to, of course, my golden butterfly theory, which I talk about in episode 1. So if you haven't heard that yet, please go back and listen to it because it's a big core belief of mine and the importance of when we feel that nudge that it's time to write our story to do it. And again, maybe it's just for you or maybe it's for other people. I was just on a podcast earlier this morning. We just did the recording for it, Bold Voices with Alexis Carpenter. So be sure to check out that podcast as well. Not sure when our episode's releasing yet, but it's going to be a great podcast to listen to. So I highly recommend it. We were talking about her own journey with how she has started writing a book and the process, how you end up feeling going through this book writing process. And the one thing that I can absolutely say 100% with every single client that has come into our Burning Soul Press, Burning Soul Collective world, as we've helped them navigate writing a book, is every time that someone says, I'm going to write a book, it is incredible how it ends up opening their world into so many other opportunities. Most of our clients we end up working with anywhere from like 3 months to 1 year, 2 years. And the transformation that happens throughout that time is just mind-boggling. And they'll even talk about it, in the very beginning, what I thought I wanted to do is completely different than where I'm at today. And I'm not just talking about things within their book, but it's things within their life journey, the things that they are taking on, the things that they are saying yes to. Because when you sit down and take that time to fully connect with who you are, it's beautiful what comes out of you. It's beautiful the pieces of yourself that you get to fully connect with and own and accept and love again. And you start to recognize more of your ultimate dreams, the things you truly want to be able to do in this world. And since writing a book is a huge accomplishment, especially when you are making it so personal and authentic and genuine to who you are, you find yourself realizing, like, okay, there's more I can do as well. And it just takes one step, one step, one step to be able to complete it. writing a book is truly so empowering in so many ways. As I've ghostwritten people's memoirs, the process of writing that book with them, I mean, clients who have gone through years upon years of therapy and they feel healed and ready to share their story. There's a whole brand new element of healing, a whole new level that occurs throughout that writing process because you're putting your story in a brand new perspective. You're having brand new perspectives and you're realizing how important all of those elements were to your overall life journey. Y'all, it's beautiful. And that's why I cannot stress it enough. You don't just have to want to become an author. If you decide to do that, great, wonderful. But you can also just be writing your story for you and not recommend enough doing that. Again, whether it's just for you, whether it's just to save for your family. I had one client who paid me for ghostwriting services, which, it's a big investment for someone to write your book. And his whole reason it was having this legacy book for him and his family, which I struggle with because it was such a powerful story that I know could help so many other people. But still, it's so cool that he did it just for him and his family. So his kids, his grandkids, on and on will always know his story and what he went through. And there's so much beauty in that because no one can tell your story like you. No one can. And so taking that time, y'all, it's such a gift to give back to the world if you share it on a better or on a bigger platform. It's a gift for your family. It's a gift for you. So keep that in mind. Personal stories are not just about self expression. They can be, of course, but they are also that bridge that fully connects us to others. Because the stories, when you're able to tell them, they provide that opportunity to understand and empathize with someone else's experiences. And like I mentioned before, they pave the way for that self discovery and healing. Writing your personal story is truly a journey into the past, but it's not just to relive past experiences. Instead, it's to give us that opportunity to help us to better understand ourselves, where we've been, how we've evolved as people. We do not give enough time or credit to how we have evolved throughout time. I think it's beautiful when you can see your writing and see how that has happened because it's truly like a main character in like a fiction book, right? Where you can see that development of their character throughout every single situation that they go through. We don't always give ourselves that time to see that within ourselves. I think it's important to honor how we have grown, what we have learned, who we've become from all of these stories or all of these situations, experiences in our life. And of course, stories are a great way to preserve our legacy, to preserve our learning, our struggles, our triumphs for future generations. So if you are sharing it with your family members only, even it gives them an opportunity to learn and to, be able to connect with you on those levels. So writing for oneself can be incredibly therapeutic because it does offer that chance for self reflection and insight. And like I said, it gives you a chance to really make sense of your journey and to see how far you've come. Whereas writing for family might be more about that legacy, preserving family history. My mom, for example, is really big into family tree elements. And it's so cool knowing like who your family is and where they came from, but you don't know a lot still about all of the people, right? I mean, like, how cool would it be if we actually knew all of our ancestors' stories? Because all of their work, their journey, their steps have led to you being born today. So how cool would it be to know more about all of their stories? So that's why it's really cool to have it just for your family. But like I said, the option too is always there if you want to write for publishing to reach larger audiences, to share your unique experiences and lessons, because you know that there are other people out there who, when you share your stories, it allows them to also feel seen and heard for who they truly are, to recognize that they aren't going through the things in the world, this world that they're going through by themselves. I mean, when you can even feel that, right? When you have conversations with people, like I mentioned Alexis Carpenter earlier, who I was on the podcast with, her and I, like, I love talking to her because we always find out all these things that we have in common, and we're able to inspire each other as a result. Um, and it's really cool to meet those people that maybe you wouldn't have ever met before, and having those opportunities. Well, when you write a book and you share your story, you might not always know who that story is connecting with, but you will see signs of it in terms of reviews that come in. Like a lot of our authors have received personal emails, letters. Like when someone's life is truly changed by your book, and they say your book was the reason for X, Y, Z in their life, they will usually find a way to be able to relay that back to you, and you'll be like, okay, this is what it's worth. I always say, if you change one person's life, doesn't it make it worth it? So there's value no matter what you decide to do when it comes to writing down your story. And like I said, whether you share it with other people or not. And it can feel daunting when you think, okay, I'm going to share my story. But you have to remember that every writer starts with a blank page. Every book started with a blank page. And when you start to fill up that page, you can't expect it to be beautiful and perfect. You have to understand it's going to be messy. Like going through your life has not always been this perfect, seamless experience, right? Like it's messy at times, and that's okay. Because you need that time too to be able to have that self-discovery. Like I always say, like you just sometimes when you sit down and you know this is what you want to do, the best thing you can do is take a blank sheet of paper and do like this brain dump on it. And like, what are the stories that keep coming to you? Because there's a reason why it's those particular stories that are standing out. And what's really cool is that once you get into that flow of identifying what those stories are, that's when more and more and more start to come out. And it's a beautiful process. And then you'll start remembering things that you're like, oh my gosh, I've not thought about that in forever. Another one of my favorite things to do with it is to talk through it with other people. It doesn't have to be people who know your life, but usually they're the ones then asking you questions about your life. And then you'll be like, oh yeah, I thought about this and this, things that I've never thought of before. So it can be a really amazing experience just for that. So spend time reflecting on your life, key moments, turning points. You can choose to put them into a timeline, or you don't have to. Remember, not all books, especially memoirs, um, are chronological. Some are, thematic when you start to structure things based more on the theme than based on the time in your timeline that it happened. So don't stress too much about when certain things happen. Just really take the time to figure out like what were the big points in my life that, I know each time I made this decision, my life suddenly went down this path, and then I made this decision, it went down this path. Or what were the things that, positively affected me or negatively affected me? You can ask all of those questions. For me, one of the best things that I did, and I mean, it's going a little bit deeper. You can start high and then dig in deeper and deeper and deeper. But I like to always go back to, what were the situations in my life that caused me to have these beliefs that I have? What were the situations in my life that caused me to have these ongoing thoughts that I have? What were the situations in my life that caused me to, have the perspective that I do, or have the struggles that I do, or have the values that I do? Those are really good questions to ask yourself as well. And you again, the big thing, like a lot of people get hung up on like having to keep it perfect and rounded. No, just have a brain dump. Just have that brainstorming period. Don't let self-doubt suddenly hold you back. Don't think that one of the things I hear a lot from our authors who are writing their memoirs is, why would anyone else think that this is important to them? Like this is silly. This isn't going to resonate with anyone. And then the moment they start sharing their story with other people, those are the stories that other people are like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you shared this because it impacts me as well." So it's really interesting how that comes up. Just remember that there really is no right way to tell your story, especially in those early, early times. Just focus on like, what are the stories that are coming to me? But the key thing to remember when you are writing your memoir or trying to capture your story, that creating a compelling narrative is truly about the authenticity, the detail of it, really bringing people into the story, keeping it inspiring and relatable. Be honest and vulnerable. Remember that the deepest connections often come from those shared pain or challenges that you've overcome. And then including the specific details to, keep your story unique to you. But again, it's even if it's unique to you, it's still going to be relatable. But the more vivid you can be and create that imagery for people, the more it sticks in their mind. And then the more they're able to actually connect it with their own similar situations, which is really cool. It's kind of those universal experiences that we all have. We're seeing different things, we're experiencing different things, but it's still going to be where we can connect on ultimately those emotions or other things that are happening. You also want to make sure you're identifying stories that are truly showing that growth and the resilience in your narrative, which can definitely serve as inspiration to others. Because your story, no matter what, you may think your life journey has been the most boring thing in the world, but I guarantee that your story has the power to inspire, to heal, and to connect with many, many people because it's your life and it's meant a lot to you. It's going to mean a lot to someone else who has a very similar journey, or maybe who they're where you once were and where you are today is going to inspire them. We have to start giving ourselves more credit as human beings. I think sometimes a lot of us tend to feel like we're not unique enough, and that's not the case. You got to think about all your life, all your time that you are with your own thoughts on a regular basis. I guarantee that there's no one else having those same thoughts. No one else having those same thoughts paired with your feelings. No one else having those same thoughts paired with your feelings, paired with what you're seeing. Like it all adds up to something unique to you. And that's why it's so important to own it and be able to capture it. And so once you've written your story, you've spent the time taking all of these individual stories and bringing it together, expanding on it. It's then time to decide if you really want to form it to a full book, which of course we have previous episodes on structure and other elements of your book. Or, you can really decide then if you want to be able to share or if you want to share it. And just remember, this is entirely up to you. It depends on your comfort level. We have people that come through our programs where they just kind of want to write and then see how they feel when it comes to sharing. And that's totally okay. And there are many avenues available to be able to share your story. It doesn't always have to be a published book. You can put it in a blog form. You can share snippets on social media. You can share it through a podcast. I mean, the choice is yours, y'all. I mean, this is fully something that you can own and you get to choose. And even with your book, say if you wrote out all your stories into a book format, you still get to choose which of those stories get shared. Maybe you will just keep one copy for you, like I'm doing that with my memoir. The rawest form is being saved for me to be shared with my kids. But then there's a version of it that's going to be edited to share with the world because there's just some things with my family or other elements that I don't there's a boundary, right? There's a boundary when it comes to it, especially when it involves other people. That's my boundary. Anything within myself, I'm good and open with, but my boundary comes with my loved ones. So, again, it's something that only you can weigh. So, when you do that too, the hardest part with a memoir, if you decide to actually share it, you have to remember that the response to your story will always vary. Some may praise it, some may criticize it, and others may not respond at all. And it's important to not take any of this personally. Okay. What matters is that you took the brave step of sharing your story. And again, I can guarantee that if your focus is on if it helps one person, it's worth it, you're going to help one person and probably more than that. And that's why it's so important to remember that. So, just a quick note on maintaining momentum. Again, we've done other episodes on this and, we'll continue to do so. But just remember that writing is truly a process that requires consistency and dedication. So, once you decide to do this, especially if you decide that, I want to spend the next year writing my story, I want to have it done within the next year, then establish a routine that suits you and then stick with it. Make that commitment to yourself. Whether it's an hour each morning by waking up earlier or it's only on the weekends, just make it a sacred time. You have to be the one that protects that because you will face moments of doubt, life getting in the way, writer's block, which, I put in quotation marks because I don't always think that's a true thing. I think it's things that we can get over if we choose to work over it. But just know that these feelings, these potential obstacles will come up. But don't panic, use these moments to reflect, to breathe, to find new inspiration, to hop around to a different story that you feel in that moment with how you're feeling today or the season you're in, you're able to expand on and dive in deeper with. Just be flexible with your writing in the sense of where you write, but stay disciplined in writing, period. Okay. And then, of course, always remember to celebrate your milestones along the way. I mean, if you wrote down all the stories, you wrote down at least like the meat of all the stories. Celebrate. You finish 3,000 words. Celebrate. You finish a chapter. Celebrate. Okay. Like keep celebrating, and it helps to have that community too. Don't forget the community of other writers who get what you're going through, and they can encourage you along the way. And if you don't have that, we have our Soul Writer Society. You can check it out with soulwritersociety.com. And what we do in that is have regular writing sessions throughout the week where we all get on Zoom and we just write together and we encourage each other to keep going in our books. And it's a really great group to be a part of for that reason. And it doesn't matter if you're writing for people or you're writing for yourself. The Soul Writer Society is just about writing and developing those consistent skills to keep you going. Because writing your personal story is not just about the end result, it's truly about enjoying the process of self discovery and expression. Because, like I said earlier, y'all, writing a story will open up beautiful doors and opportunities for you in your life. And I guarantee you, it's the one thing that you will never, ever regret doing. Thank you so much for tuning in to another inspiring episode of the Soul Writer Podcast. I hope today's conversation has ignited a newfound passion and determination in you to write from a place of vulnerability, authenticity, and soul. Remember, your story has the power to make a significant impact in the world. And by sharing your unique voice, you're contributing to the tapestry of human experience. So go forth, embrace your soul-driven purpose, and let your words transform the lives of your readers. Be sure to subscribe to the Soul Writer Podcast so you don't miss out on any of our upcoming episodes, where we'll continue to share valuable insights and inspiring stories from fellow authors. You can also join our community on social media to connect with like-minded writers and share your own journey by looking at Burning Soul Collective. Until next time, keep shining your light, and remember, your story matters. Your words have power, and the world needs the magic that only you can create. This is the Soul Writer Podcast, signing off for now. Right on, my friends.